Hi, my name is Corey Doxer, and I'm here with the outgoing SGA president. Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Dylan Balcom. I'm a third-year behavioral neuroscience major, and I'm currently the president of SGA.
What are your thoughts on how well you did during your tenure?
I think I did fairly well for my tenure in SGA. Obviously, I came into the role in a very unique way, something that not many before have ever had to do, taking over by succession. So it was very unique trying to continue the previous efforts by also incorporating my own. So I think we were pretty successful. A lot of our goals going into it this year were to make changes within SGA to try to increase the system's efficiency and make things more fair and equitable, specifically with the changes we made for referenda and the budgeting system through our comptroller. But I think pretty successul overall.
What are your thoughts on this year's controversy over stipends, and how do you think the SGA handled it?
So I was actually the one who led internally who led the initiative to get rid of stipends. I think it's the history of stipends in SGA it kind of is a cyclical issue where every couple of years it gets brought back up. Sometimes they're cut, sometimes they're brought back. It's been spanning for the last couple decades, and over the last year or so, there's been a lot of student feedback about the stipends, and I think that really taking it into heart, but also trying to make sure that the positions are still accessible. So with the solution that we did find, where cutting them from the SAF so it doesn't come from students' pockets, because it doesn't really feel right to have a stipend come from the SAF when that's supposed to go for student organizations to program and grow and foster that campus community, and I don't think that stipends should come from that. And so finding the solution where we did, I think is a good response.
Where are the stipend funds coming from? Has that been decided yet?
What I'm proposing is this will have to be worked out by whoever the next administration is. It'll happen in the fall, but they won't come from SAF. We're not requesting for them to come from SAF. Every student org has a cash account, which comes from external fundraising. So I'm proposing that they do fundraising over the summer and then have the stipends come from the cash account. And in a similar fashion, it would have to be approved by Senate on a public forum.
How about the new annual budget system?
That's been a long discussion over the last year. Myself, with the comptroller, and other SGA individuals working with CSI and SABO, talking about ways that we can make sure that students are getting as fair of a shot as they can from the SAF, and it's making sure that students are set up for success and not hindered by the system. So for a long time it's been discussed, and while this was led by Max, our comptroller, Max WG, I was in full support of moving to the annual budget system. I think that it makes the most sense for students to know what they'll have at the start of the year, so they can book spaces, plan events accordingly, and not be left on a contingency of if they'll get the budget or not. Because I think that's a barrier that presented itself to a lot of clubs. Specifically arts clubs, media clubs, a lot of clubs that do performances. They started to have be hindered by the rolling system. So I think moving to an annual budget system will be the best solution.
Nathan Hostert resigned as president earlier this year, but the student body wasn't informed until the Huntington News broke the story after receiving a leak from the SGA. How well do you think the SGA handled the process, and were they planning on making an announcement?
I think we handled it well. It's one thing that we really wanted to do is respect Nathan, and this is what he needed to do. So taking the appropriate steps to make sure that he was supported in his decision, but also the association can move forward. The intention was always to keep things public and open. I think the timing was pretty unfortunate for us to be able to respond as accordingly as possible. Happened right before Thanksgiving. A lot of people went home for Thanksgiving, and so it was an unfortunate error on our part, not being as prepared as we could have been to make that initial response. But I think that we did the best as we can. At the end of the day, we're all students, we're all humans, and so we're doing the best that we can, and I think that our executive director of communications handled it very well. We really thought out what, since this is the first time that we had on record that this has ever happened, we really wanted to make sure that what precedent we're setting is the most equitable moving forward. Initially, when we looked at our governing documents, we were moving towards an appointment, but we ended up deciding to have a Senate election. Obviously, we can't have a student body-wide election to fill this one spot in the middle of the year, but we went with a Senate election. That way everyone had the shot from who was eligible to obtain the role of EVP, and that way it wouldn't just be who I felt was the best to fill the spot, which was what the original interpretation was. But I think it went very well. I had a great transition from Nathan stepping out of the role, and I was able to work closely with Jake to get him into the role and working as quickly as possible. He took over not long after. We had a very quick transition. So,
The election in which you were voted in had a record number of no confidence votes. Did that affect your ability to lead?
I wouldn't say it had a negative effect. I think it was definitely eye-opening. There's always been the long discussion about SGA's connection with the student body, and it's something that everyone always talks about. But I think that was the first time that was really made very clear to the administration of SGA, and we really took that. Not to heart, but we took that into mind when we were thinking of moving forward about what would be the best course of action, making sure that we are being representative of those voices, because people through no confidence either didn't think we were, or for whatever reason didn't agree with us as the choice. And so we really made sure to try to reach out to as many stakeholders as we could, different student groups over the summer, and really connect with them, and make sure that our initiatives are actually representative of what the student body wants. I definitely think that some portion of the no confidence votes come from a lack of understanding of or lack of education about the process or the candidates and things like that. So we tried to see if that was part of the case. We made some small changes, like expanding the campaign timeline, allowing for a shorter voting period, because it's kind of hard when you have just 3 days to get out your voice and let people know who you are, and then they go to vote. So we expanded that, so that way potentially that could help with that issue, and also get more people educated on who is running before they have to make a vote. And we also added the abstention option to differentiate between those who don't want to be a part of the process and those who want to voice a disagreement with the slate. So those are some potential solutions that may have an effect and help for that part, but also on the side of individuals who didn't see us or the other slate as the best choice in our election, we really tried to work to get out there and connect with those individuals to make sure those voices were represented.
What did you want to accomplish but weren't able to, or will come into fruition in the future?
I think one thing that we started and we weren't able to see through to the end yet, but it's still on the table, is a community garden. That's an initiative that was initially brought up by two students, Max and Savannah. They brought it to the Senate floor and it passed. We then began to work with administration, have had a lot of really productive conversations, and we're getting a lot of administrative support behind it, which is really great. Just there's a lot of issues that will make this a longer project, specifically like finding where, securing ownership, things like that. We have support from the university. It's just a matter of this will be a longer process to try to get this approved and moving forward. So that's one thing that I wish would have moved more quickly. But we'll continue to push these efforts. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered?
I'm very proud of our association over this last year. It's definitely been an interesting ride, but ascending to where I did and serving as president is something that I think has taught me a lot of valuable lessons about student advocacy, about general advocacy, about Northeastern as a whole. And I think it's really unique that the things that we were able to accomplish this year, a lot of the wins that SGA had were very tangible for like the student day-to-day life and really help specifically like low income or low access students. So like with Swipe to Care, Frisky Husky, like these programs are really having a true impact on students' lives and really helping new voices that I don't think necessarily were getting heard before. So I'm really proud of those programs and some of the wins that we got. And it was overall, I think, a really good year.
Thanks for being here today. I'm Corey Doxer for NUTV News. Thank you for watching.